Well, anyway, he asked me to try not to use that word anymore. He didn't demand it. He didn't threaten to fire me. He asked nicely, and because of how good a guy he is, I promised him that I will do my best to abide. But having said that, offended in White Plains, if you're listening, and I have to assume that you are, I'll make eye contact with you if you're on YouTube, do us all a favor. Get a backbone. You know, if you have a problem with something that I say or that I do, call me on it. Come on, you all know the number. It's 914-693-5700. Give me a call and have an open and honest debate with me. I do not bite. I've never not allowed somebody to speak their mind and disagree with me on the show. I mean, the fact of the matter is, no, just one more gutless loser who wants to hide behind the bushes and throw rocks at the passing cars. It's pathetic. Well, I will indeed keep the lines open for this dope if he or she wants to call in. The number again, 914-693-5700. I don't know. If you want to call in and discuss the merits or lack thereof of using the R word, which I guess we'll have to call it now. We'll call it the R word and sound pathetic. I thought I was pretty clear about how I used that word, but apparently I guess I was not. So if you call in, I promise to speak more slowly this time. You know, in fact, I guess I got to figure out another word to use now, because I will not say R word. That just makes me sound like, well, an R word. So I'm leaning towards, and I'll take your opinions on this too, I'm leaning towards Mongo. Remember the character Alex Karras played in Blazing Saddles? His name was Mongo, and I think that term is the term that I will use from now on for adults who are really, really beyond stupid. And let's see if Offended in White Plains has a problem with that. Okay. I don't want to put too much of a damper on things because, like I said, I am in a terrific mood today for two reasons. One, Steelers kick some butt in dramatic Steeler fashion, as is usually the case. But I'm also very excited to have our guest this week on the lines with me. There was a story during the week. Dr. Judith Bevis is a clinical psychologist just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and she also happens to be a sports mom and a licensed soccer coach. She's also one of the parents who was forced to attend a substance policy meeting just about a week or so ago. If you were on the blog this week, you saw the story. The blog, by the way, is www.heycoachtony.com. Anyway, we'll be taking your calls on this story as usual at 914-693-5700. And, well, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Judith Bevis to the show. Dr. Bevis, thanks so much for joining us today, and welcome to Let Them Play. How are we doing?
Hi, Tony. Greetings from Swampscott, Massachusetts, home of thousands of Patriots fans. Glad you called in the morning.
Well, I got to tell you, Judith, let's you and I have a cordial conversation today because I have a feeling that my beloved Steelers and your beloved Patriots are going to be meeting up next week for a serious battle, and it should be a blast. So I'm glad we're doing the show this week and not after that game because it'll be tough for us to be nice to one another. But thanks for joining us for the show. Please allow me, Dr. Bevis, to outline this story really briefly for those of our listeners who aren't aware of it. And then perhaps you can give us all an update on the specifics of your story, but also maybe fill in some of the blanks and maybe talk a bit about some of your philosophies around substance abuse in our kids and some of the ways that we handle it. So let me roll through the story real quickly. I'll paraphrase from one of the articles that was written, and then I'll turn it over to you. But here's how the story unfolds. School officials courted controversy last night when they gathered parents to sign onto their anti-drug and anti-alcohol policy. While barring the media from what was already a controversial meeting, they earned resentment from some when they refused to let the parents speak. The school threatened to bar the children of absent parents from all sports and clubs. The principal, Lane Millington, and Superintendent Lynn Chelly justified the tactic by citing an alarming level of drug and alcohol use in the school. They made it clear prior to the meeting that parents would not be invited to speak and also explained the decision to bar the media, saying, and I quote, "This is for parents." Now, the guy who wrote the article is a guy by the name of Ethan Foreman. Interesting, he wrote the article, but he's also the parent of a Swampscott High School freshman. And so he could not be barred, even though he was a media representative, I guess. But however, at one point, there was a plainclothes detective who tried to kick him out of the meeting, saying that it was a private meeting. Now, this new chemical health policy is what they're calling it. Previously only applied to athletes, will now affect all the students on a, quote, 365-day-a-year basis, both on and off the school grounds. The use of drugs and alcohol will cost a student the right to engage in any extracurricular activities for a year, and will also require participation in a drug or alcohol program. Now, the school apparently has no intention of going out into the community to enforce the policy. This is according to school officials, but will deal with the students, and I will quote again, whose behaviors are brought to our attention either from the police or occasionally online via Facebook. Now, they said this was not an attempt to tell parents how to raise their kids, and they discussed some techniques that parents could use to deter what they call youthful misbehavior. Now, there were varying opinions after the meeting, at least according to this article. One of the moms, and I'm going to avoid using names here for all the obvious reasons, but one of the moms said, and I quote, "It's good to know that they will watch out for the students, than that they will be careful with them." But there were also some folks who were disappointed in this whole process. One parent was actually told to sit and remain silent or face arrest when he complained that the policy wasn't widely circulated prior to the meeting. And when he simply said, "Could you please listen to us?" the police came over and told him to sit down or he would be arrested. Now, having made their presentation, in essence, the parents were told to shut up and go home. Now, I'm sure those weren't the words that were used, but that's the tone of this article. And there were several public officials who attended this meeting, including State Senator Tom McGee, State Representative Lori Ehrlich, as well as the District Attorney Jonathan Blodgett. Now, again, one other parent said, "It was okay. I know what teenagers do. The school is foolish to think parents don't know what is going on." And then added that she resented a little being forced to attend. Now, other parents seemed to think that the meeting was a good idea, but that there should have been some back and forth. And one other parent, upon learning of the number of drug-related injuries and deaths in the area, said she's considering taking her child out of the school system altogether. Now, at first I thought this was a pretty black and white case, as a lot of these things are. But the more I thought about it, the whole idea of not letting the parents actively participate in this meeting got me to asking some questions to myself. And when I finally got to Dr. Bevis, I started getting some answers, and so I really couldn't wait to give this small community the opportunity and the platform to tell their story. So, Dr. Bevis, do us a favor first and give us an idea of how accurate this account is of the story, or if there's anything maybe that was overlooked.
Well, I think the story is a pretty good description of what we're struggling with. And as I look more into it, communities all over Massachusetts are struggling with how to deal with teens who use tobacco, drugs, and alcohol. And I think what we have here is what I'm going to call the story of rules gone wild.
Okay.
And so what we have is some worried parents who are concerned that their kids are using drugs and alcohol. And some people I feel are, reacting in a very powerful way to things that occur in every community. And they're possibly trying to whoop up a frenzy and a crisis to get something passed really fast without actually thinking through all of the implications of the policy. And I should describe to you a little bit first what the mandated invitation was, because I think you have to understand where the anger first came from. The invitation was sent out sometime around the end of December, and it ordered the parents of around 800 high school students to come to a dinner time meeting at 6 o'clock in New England in January without your kids. And if you didn't go, they were going to punish your kids.
Okay.
Well, it's ridiculous. I couldn't get my best friend to meet me 6 o'clock at dinner next week. We've got kids.
Hey,
so,
Dr. Bevis, do me a favor. Hang on a quick second, because you're starting to get into some of the story, and I think it's really important that we get these. We're going to have to take a break, but we want to make sure that we're getting your calls. So, folks, if you're familiar with the story and have some questions or comments about what's being said here, please make sure you give us a call in the studio at 914-693-5700. But before we go to break, hey, folks, it is winter, and that means skiing and snowboarding at Catamount Family Ski Resort in Hillsdale, New York, right on the Massachusetts border. My family and I have been going to Catamount for years. It's just so close to home, and it has trails for everybody from the beginners all the way up through the most accomplished skier. In fact, tomorrow, if you care to try to track me down, I'm going to be at Catamount with my kids. My ribs are still killing me, so I'm not sure how much skiing I'm going to do, but I know the kids will have a blast because they always do. Perfectly groomed trails and loads of family fun at Catamount, just about an hour's drive from Westchester County. It makes for a terrific day trip, so visit Catamount Ski Resort this winter. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back.
Listen carefully to this message. If you're about to buy hardwood flooring, you're going to pay too much. Unless, of course, you buy from us. We're Lumber Liquidators, and we dare you to shop and compare with the big box stores. Lumber Liquidators offers the low price guarantee. When you buy your quality hardwood flooring from Lumber Liquidators, you save hundreds, if not thousands, every time, because we buy direct from the mills. We are truly the wood floor experts. To prove it, we'll send you our beautiful full-color catalog absolutely free. Call 1-800-560-9010. Shop from home for hardwoods in cherry, oak and walnut, bamboo, laminates, and even Bellawood pre-finished flooring with a 50-year warranty. The same floor Bob Vila has in his home. Don't pay more than you have to for flooring. Call Lumber Liquidators now. We even offer installation and financing. Visit your local Lumber Liquidators or call right now for your free catalog. 1-800-560-9010. That's 1-800-560-9010. 1-800-560-9010.
Don't just work a job, build a career. Hi, I'm Kevin Garrity.
There we go. I got to tell you, Adam, you get kudos today, dude. We walked into the studio this morning, and as some of you know who tuned in early, it has been a plethora of technical snafus, and Adam's been working through them all this morning and in terrific fashion. Now, I got to say, before we get back to Dr. Judith, we did get a call in, and whoever it was that called, I want you to call back. Someone called in and had a very specific opinion about the R word, as I have to call it now, and apparently this woman had some strong opinions. If you are listening, I want you to please call the studio back. I want to get you on the air because I want your opinions about the stuff that I do and how it's being perceived out there by my loyal public. But we are back here with Dr. Judith Bevis, who is, among other things, a licensed soccer coach, a clinical psychologist, and a mom in this community of Swampscott, Massachusetts, where the parents were literally forced and ordered to come to this meeting at dinner time to discuss the new substance abuse policy. And again, we're going to be taking your calls for those of you who either have support for this new policy or have problems with how it was done. Studio lines, again, 914-693-5700. Dr. Bevis, please continue. You had started to mention that you were ordered to take this dinner time meeting, and I know it's not the most convenient thing in the world. Give us a little bit of an understanding of the tone of that meeting and kind of the agenda as far as you saw it.
Well, the agenda, the way it came across was the policy was already decided. And some concerned people in the town had gotten together and put together this policy with very good intentions. But then when I looked at it as a psychologist, as a neuropsychologist, I looked at the policy and I said the policy is doomed to fail. And the reason is teenage brains cannot obey the rules that the town has put down.
Cannot.
Their brains cannot allow them to obey the rules.
What part about the rules that they laid down is a teenage?
Just about all of it.
Well, help me understand.
Just about all of it. And I'm going to offer a really different perspective than what's been offered. It's very easy, that the lawyers have their opinions, the police have their opinions, the school, the counselors, the kids, the parents. But I've been licensed for 24 years in the state of Massachusetts. I started out doing clinical psychological work where I was concerned with families and abuse and domestic abuse and all those issues. And then I got trained as a neuropsychologist. And what I brought to the table here is an understanding not only of the socioeconomic and psychological dynamics, but also how the brain works. And what's happening with neuroscience and neuropsychology now is we're making some great contributions in the field of sports. Neuroscience has recently affected NFL rules so that we no longer allow helmet-to-helmet hits because we now know that hurts athletes' brains and it causes permanent damage.
Yes.
And so I want to offer that neuropsychology and the science of how our brain works tells us that this policy is doomed.
Do me a favor. Give us a couple of points of